what narcissists want after the discard. To identify what it is that a narcissist wants at discard, we have to look at what they were doing up until that point. Because let's keep it real. People don't suddenly change overnight. It may look that way with the narcissist because they use these multiple personalities. They have all of these different masks. And they can just pull out a different mask depending on the person or situation they're dealing with. And that's how it's like they can just suddenly become a different person, and maybe they're hoovering you, they're love bombing you, they're giving you fake apologies, false epiphanies, telling you whatever they think you want to hear. But one thing they're not giving you is closure or an explanation for their behavior. They don't want to talk about that. They do not want a sense of resolve, because they don't really want anything to change. They don't want things to get better for you. And of course, we should know that, we should see that. Because just look at how they were treating you up until the discard. Look at the things that they did to you. Look how bad they were towards you. Look at the things that you should never have had to have dealt with. The things that you unfortunately had to put up with. Just look at that and remember who this person really is as a result of the things that they have done. Because think about it. If they wanted things to get better for you, if they wanted you to move on, if they wanted you to be the best person that you could be, then why would they devalue you? Why would they put you down? Why would they target your self-esteem? Why would they do all of those horrible things that they did to you? Let's just imagine, as we like to do, imagine these hypothetical situations, such as someone running a race. Maybe it's a 100-meter sprint, like Usain Bolt, and maybe their family and friends are on the sidelines. Typically, they're going to be cheering them on. They're going to be giving them support and encouragement because they want them to reach the finish line. They want them to do well. They want them to win. But you do not get that from the narcissist. They were never supporting or encouraging you. They were never cheering you on in the right direction, towards the right things. They were never doing that for you. But look at what they were doing. They were trying to darken your mood, dispirit you, depress you. That's what they were trying to do. So you imagine you're running a race, you're running a 100-meter sprint, away from all of the bad things, away from all of the negativity in your life, towards the right direction, towards a healthier place. And then you've got the narcissist on the sidelines, and they're just saying all of these negative things about you. Like you're not going to do it, you can't win, you're never going to be anything, you're not going to do well, you're awful at running, you're not strong enough, you're not fit enough, you're no good. By them doing all of those things, how are you meant to succeed? How are things meant to get better for you? And when you realize that, you realize that they never wanted things to be good for you. They never wanted you to be healthier and to move on and to have a better life for yourself. They never wanted to see that. They wanted everything to be wrong for you. And that's really the difference when you're dealing with a narcissist. Because honestly, if you're dealing with someone where it's like you just had a quarrel, you had a disagreement, or maybe you went through a bad patch in your life and you did some things that you shouldn't have done, such as an example, maybe someone who's involved with drugs, someone who's an alcoholic, and if the other person is complaining about that, they're expressing how it's a problem for them, then they're going to want to see that change. They're going to want to see that improve. They're going to want to see things get better for that person, not worse. And they're going to encourage them in the right direction. They're going to motivate them away from the bad things in life. They're not going to be there every day with a bottle of alcohol in front of that person, trying to tempt and entice them, drawing them back into a situation that they're trying to get away from. They're not going to be doing that. But people who will do that are narcissists, people who have a crabs in the bucket mentality. And also, we may see this in groups of drug addicts or alcoholics who may have formed a close bond or friendship as a result of engaging in those unhealthy activities. And typically they don't want to see each other moving on, because then it's very lonely for them and they bond over their misery and self-destruction. So that's essentially why they want to keep you down and they don't want you to move on. They don't want things to get better for you after the discard for that reason, because it's very lonely for them. It's lonely for them without you, or rather, without this shell of the person that you used to be. They need that side of you, even though you may feel like that's not really you. You may feel very uncomfortable in that, but it's very comfortable for them. They thrive in those types of environments. So that's exactly what they want for you after the discard. They don't want to see you moving on. They don't want to see things getting better for you. They want you to remain stuck. And that's why they don't give you any closure or an explanation for why they did what they did, for how they treated you, because they want to leave an open door so that they can come back. They want to leave you in a state of confusion to where it's like something that you can never figure out, something you can never understand. You could just never comprehend how someone could do what they do, so that it keeps you stuck. And not only that, it may leave you searching for answers, which is another thing that they want, because then you're going to be on their social media, you're going to be looking at what they're doing with the new supply, and it's going to look like they're having such a great time now, even after everything they did to you. And that's just going to make you feel even more worse. And for them, that's going to fuel the illusion. It's going to be a driving force for them to move on with this new source and feel like they're having the time of their lives. But they may also be checking in with you. You may see them liking your posts, watching your stories, and it's because they like you on the shelf with, or that they've already drained the batteries out of. So now they're just waiting for you to recharge. The criminal often returns to the scene of the crime, so they will be checking in on you, but I can tell you that they're not hoping to see anything good. Just think about the things that they did to you and how they treated you. They did those things for a reason, because they wanted to bring you down. They wanted to keep you stuck. So when they're coming back, when they're watching your stories, when they're looking at your social media, they're hoping to see the results, the effects of what they did to you. They're hoping to see that you're still suffering. They're hoping to see that you haven't moved on, that you're still ruminating, you're still thinking about them. You're still thinking about all of the things they did to you and wondering how they could possibly do that. And just feeling like you're in a hopeless, helpless situation that you're never going to be able to move past from. That's really what they want for you. That's how they want you to feel. Because again, it has that resonance with them. Your authenticity, that doesn't speak to them. All that says to them is how worthless they are, and how they can't heal, they can't move on, and how they're very weak. That's what it translates to them. But when you're down, when you're feeling hopeless, then it's relative to them. They're on that same wavelength, because that's exactly how they feel. Sometimes they may express that to you, but mostly they're just devaluing you, or they're just complaining about random people or things, because that's really how they feel inside. Narcissists are actually depressed. And that's how, no matter what you do for them, no matter how much you try to make them happy, they're always miserable. They're always angry. So that's exactly how it feels for them. For them, it's just like everything is so hopeless. And they're just these helpless people who are stuck and can't move past things. And that's why they often play the victim. And that's why they want you to remain in that state. That's why they put you there. That's why they do the things that they do to you. That's why they treat you that way, for that sole purpose. To make it more resonant with their experience, with how things are for them. Because honestly, they saw you as a meal ticket. They saw you as a lifeline. As someone who is going to temporarily pick them up and make them feel better, pull them out of this misery that they had created for themselves. And this is especially the case with the covert narcissist. All they do is bitch and complain, but they never actually do anything about it. They want you to do something for them. And you can do for them as much as you want. You can give everything you have until you have nothing left to give, and they're still going to be miserable. They're still not going to be happy. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how great you are, it's never going to be enough. And even while you're doing for them, they're going to be sabotaging you, bringing you down, to bring you down to their wavelength, to with what resonates with them. Because how a person treats you, it is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. People who are hard-working, disciplined, successful, happy, they want you to be the same way. Now, of course, you may have met some people who maybe are hard-working and successful, but they're still very angry and miserable. And they don't want anything good for you. Now that can happen as well because although yes, some people can be very successful, they may work very hard, and they may have created everything that they have for themselves. And although yes, I'm all for that, and I think it's wonderful when people work hard that they succeed. But yes, you will come across certain people who may seem like they have it all, but they can't get that fulfillment from those things. And it could be the result of their mental health. Maybe there's some things they need to work on. Or they may be narcissistic. They may have cheated, conned people, done things that they shouldn't have done. And that's what it's like with many successful people in the world today. They cheated their way to get there. And honestly, it's extremely rare that you will ever come across a successful person who is also an empath. That is extremely rare. And I've been talking about this in my videos for a while. But I also watched a video from Dr. Ramani recently, and she confirmed the same thing. She explained how narcissists typically have road rage, and most of the people who you see have the road rage are often driving the nicest cars. So that's definitely something to look out for. And of course, as we know, it's often people in positions of power. Many of them are narcissistic or psychopathic because they cheated their way to get there. They deceive people. Otherwise, they never would have gotten into those positions. And I also don't think that narcissists or psychopaths should be leaders, because they're just all about themselves. And it's not so good for everyone else. And it's just often what we see with these types of people. As for myself, all of the money that I gained from doing this work, it was always about how can I give back? How can I reinvest it back into the company? And of course, many of you know that I do invest in the latest technology that I can afford anyway to produce these videos. I do need to get a new microphone though, because the microphone I'm using now, it has been broken for a while. But I'm always thinking about how can I improve my videos? How can I give a better experience for the viewers? But as for the narcissists, they're just taking whatever they can from you. And they're very selfish, they're very self-absorbed. They're not thinking about how can they reinvest what they got from you back into the relationship with you to make the relationship better. They're never thinking in that way, because people are just stepping stones to them. We're a means to an end. They don't care about relationships. To them, a relationship is all about them. And when something's just all about one person, that's not a relationship. It's a one-sided transaction. And this is why many of you are left in the positions that you are in, because you were dealing with someone who is just all about themselves. They didn't really care about you. They were just putting on an act. I am losing my train of thought a bit though, because there is a lot of banging and thumping coming from the upstairs room. And also it has been quite a long day. I was waiting outside the other apartment that I was staying at earlier today, because it took over 2 hours just to get a ride to this apartment, which is only 10 minutes away. But I'm here now, and fortunately still found time to get on here and make this video for you. And that's what it's all about for me. That's what my day revolves around every day. But yeah, after the discard, they just want to see you down. They want to see you remain as the character that they created in you, from where they were able to trauma bond with you. So they dumped all of this trauma onto you, and they want you to continue on that path. Or rather than on a path, they just want you to lay down and remain stuck. They do not want you to move on. And think about it. Why would someone not want you to move on? Why would they want you to remain stuck? Of course, it's because they can't move on. They're stuck. And many of you will notice this on your healing journey. When you are at the very beginning of your healing journey, you'll just want to see blood. Not literally, of course, but you will want revenge. Now, hopefully, you won't let that develop into actions or behaviors, because that is very toxic, it's abusive, it's unhealthy. But if you're having these fantasies of revenge, these thoughts in your mind, that's completely normal. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's a part of the healing process. That means that you're healing when you can accept that, when you can express your anger. And when you start having those emotions, you're on the right track already. You should journal. Write down everything that you would like to say to the narcissist. Don't send it to them, of course, because they're not going to self-reflect. They're not going to get better. But just write it down, and then at the end you can rip it up or burn it, whatever you prefer. But yeah, at the beginning of the healing journey, you may feel stuck. You may have a lot of emotions to process, and you may not want to see them moving on. You may want to see them hurt. But as you gradually begin to heal, and you will know when you're healing, because then you will begin to develop this indifference towards them. You will no longer want to see them stuck. You will no longer want to see them hurting. And in fact, you may remember all those times that they were arguing with you, all of those times that they were abusive, and recognize how much they were suffering in those moments. And you may wish that they could find healing and that they could move on, and that things could get better for them. And that all comes with time along your healing journey. And that's when you know that you are moving on. But for them, they never get to that point. They hold grudges for their entire lives. And actually, they can sense when your energy is slipping away from them. They can sense when you're indifferent. They can sense when you're moving on. And they hate that feeling, because then it makes them feel like they're alone in their misery. It's the most painful part. Because actually that moment where they feel like they're alone, where they see that you're moving on, you're healing, that is actually the beginning of their healing process. And that's where they fight against it. They do not want to heal. And they may not be consciously thinking about how much they do not want to heal. For them, it's more about the pain. It really hits a nerve for them when they see things getting better for you, when they see you moving on. It's like nothing else hurts them more than that. It really stings. And that's why, rather than them processing those emotions, dealing with their shame, instead, what do? They deflect it onto you. The very thing that could save them. The very thing that could change their entire lives. They deflect that onto you. Because it's just too painful for them to deal with. They do not want to go through that process. They may not even understand that it is a process of healing. And this is why after the discard, they just want you to remain stuck. They don't want you to move on. They don't want things to get better for you. They don't want to see you having anything. They don't want to see you feeling safe, secure, comfortable. They don't want to see any of that. They hoover you, they stalk you, all of this just to confirm that you're still stuck, that you're still hurting. Because then they can rest, then they can feel comfortable in their distractions and their escapism, knowing that you're still there, you haven't moved on. That brings them comfort. But it also causes them to remain stuck. Because it's that discomfort that they need. Initially, yes, it will be very painful. But then with time, it will cause them to move. It will cause things to get better for them. But this is why we speak about no contact. Because as long as you remain around them, things are not going to get better for you. You might notice a little bit of progress, but it'll be like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. You can't experience consistent progress with narcissists. You have to have time away from them. The more time you spend around them, the more sick you will feel. The worse things will get. But it may also affect your awareness to where you think that things are getting better. Actually, things are getting a lot worse. You're just not aware of it. Because things can never improve with narcissists. Things can never get better with them. As long as you're around them, they will keep you stuck. And they will leave you questioning yourself, thinking that maybe you're the problem. yeah, a lot of them, they're not really consciously thinking about how they want to keep you down, how they want to keep you stuck. They're typically not thinking in that way because, as we know, narcissists, they gaslight themselves. However, if you're dealing with a psychopath, they're actually more connected to reality. They're more aware of what they're doing. They just don't care. They just don't feel anything. So with a psychopath, it's more strategic. It's more premeditated and planned out. But with a narcissist, it typically just revolves around their feelings, or of how they don't want to experience certain feelings. And that's why they're constantly trying to maneuver you, to push you in certain directions, to back you into a corner, so that it brings them comfort. It makes them feel a bit better about themselves. And that's really what they're trying to do. And many of them, they're not so much thinking about how much they want to hurt you. It's just for them, if that's what they have to do, if you're going to get hurt along the way, then that's just how it's going to have to be. That's how they think of it. So for them, it just revolves around their emotions more than anything else. Emotions that they are disconnected from. This is why they're always focused outwardly. They're always focused on what you can do or what you can feel, what they can do to you, how they can affect you, to then affect themselves and make themselves feel better. And that's really how it is with whatever they're doing, whatever their actions are. It's all just about how they can make themselves feel better. Because they're very anxious, they're very depressed. They don't feel good about themselves. If they did, then you would see a very different type of person. Because when a person feels good about themselves, they want everyone else to feel good as well. And this is why you were constantly trying to make them happy. You're doing everything they wanted because you felt good. You felt satisfied with yourself, and you wanted them to feel the same way. However a person feels, that's how they want you to feel. And they just don't feel good at all. Deep down, they know that they are fake. They know that they are inauthentic. And that's why they constantly try to push that onto you. They try to confuse you, discredit you, and just do whatever they have to do. Because then it makes their false self seem more real. And this is why it's so dangerous to be around narcissists. Because when you're with someone who's disconnected from themselves, it's going to disconnect you from yourself. And because they're disconnected from their emotions, it's going to cause you to feel numb, to where you may become more robotic. Because you lose that autonomous part of yourself. But you're connected to yourself and you're able to direct yourself in the way that you would like. And instead, you're influenced and directed by outside forces that are pulling you in all sorts of different directions, depending on how they feel, because their feelings change from one moment to the next. They might feel a certain way in one moment, and they think that's going to be better for them. It might feel good initially, but then they become dissatisfied with that, doesn't produce the result that they want. It doesn't make them feel better, at least not long term. So then they switch to something else, and then they're just pulling you in all sorts of directions. You're going back and forth between the love bombing, the devaluation, the discard and the hoovering, and it just goes on and on. But no matter what, they're never satisfied. It's never good enough. No matter what you do for them, they're never going to be happy. And it's the same thing when they're abusing you. They're never going to be satisfied with that. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a string of victims of past relationship partners, and they're constantly just looking at their social media, watching their stories, making sure that they're still miserable, they're still thinking about them, longing and yearning for them, and that they haven't moved on. I bet that's what a lot of narcissists are doing. They probably have a bunch of victims that they check in on, hoping that they're still stuck. And if they're not, that's typically when they get a hoover. That's typically when the narcissist comes back for that reason, to keep them stuck, to prevent them from moving on. Because they want everyone to remain in this web of lies, misery, and deceit, to where the narcissist then feels like they have some sort of control. They get a sense of control from controlling other people, because they can't control themselves because they're very insecure. But yeah, they just want to see you stuck. They just want it to stop. The progression, the healing, the moving on, they just want it all to come to an end. But then in some ways, they also enjoy toying with you. They see it as a game. When you get to a certain point, and then they just push you right back. That's also why they might return to the love bombing. They put you on a pedestal just so that you're that much further away from the ground when they knock you off. But yeah, everything they do, all of their actions, it all reveals everything you need to know about them. It really does. Just look at how they want to keep you stuck. They want to prevent your healing. It's because it's too painful for them to heal, so they can't move on. They stay stuck. And they don't want to see you progress. They don't want to see you succeed because they feel insignificant. They feel like they're not good enough. And they also see you as a threat to their false image. And that's why by keeping you down, it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they're further along than they actually are. So everything they do, it has a purpose behind it. And of course, it's all just to affect themselves in a certain way, so that they can see themselves in a certain way. And you've got to think, why do they have to affect you in order to see themselves in a certain way? Why can't they just go within and do that directly? They can't, because there's nothing for them to go within to. They've got to get that from you. They have to filter everything through you so that they can experience things vicariously through you, because they just can't get the same fulfillment. And that's why they envy and hate you. If they could get the same fulfillment from things, then they'd probably be doing that. They wouldn't want the worst for you after the discard. They wouldn't have to keep you down. They wouldn't keep stalking you, hoovering you. They wouldn't be doing any of that. Instead, they would just be enjoying their lives. And they would have tried to have made it up to you. They would have tried to have made amends. But instead, no, they have to affect you. Because they can't be happy. They can't participate in things that they want to. They can't get the same fulfillment as you do. And that's why they can't stand you. That's why they don't want to see things getting better for you. That's why they don't want to see you move on. Because they know it's never going to be like that for them. They're depressed. They lack self-belief. If they believed in themselves, then things would be very different. They would treat you very differently. And you can hear it by the things they say, how negative and pessimistic they are. They're always putting you down. They've always got something to complain about. They're always nitpicking and fault-finding. And you may mistake it as though it's about you. But actually, no, these are projections. They're talking about themselves. They're just deflecting it onto you. They actually feel hopeless in themselves. And that's why they use you as this emotional punching bag, an external regulator, because they can't regulate themselves. And that's how they're like this eternal victim. They just never seem to move on. They can never pick themselves back up. They can never be there for you. They can never be there for you because they can't even be there for themselves. They have no one inside of themselves to be there for themselves. And yet they know that you do. They know that you have something. They know that you have a true self. They know that you can provide that emotional stability to them that they cannot provide for themselves. And that's why they don't want to see you moving on. They don't want to see you healing. They do not want to see things getting better for you, because if they do, then what happens? It increases your stability, your comfort, your security, your centeredness within yourself. You become more grounded. You can think more clearly. Now, how is that going to be any good for them? If they can't stabilize themselves, if they can't center themselves, that's just going to destroy them, because then that leaves them without a source of supply, without an external regulator. So of course they want to keep you stuck. Of course they want to prevent you from moving on, because you are this tool, this appliance to them that they can use to create this sense of stability and security within themselves. And otherwise they can't get that. They can only get it by affecting you, by keeping you stuck. And that's why they don't want anything good for you after the discard. If you're finding this video helpful so far, give me a thumbs up down below. Thank you. But yeah, you may often feel stuck when you deal with narcissists. You may feel like you're going around and around and you're not getting anywhere, like you're stuck in a circular conversation with yourself. And you may just feel the tension in your body, in your head as well. And that's why the best thing you can do, like the Taylor Swift song, You just got to shake it off. It's actually just shake it off and move your body around, maybe exercise, because that energy remains stuck in your body. That negativity. And it feels so heavy, and it just weighs you down. Because they're trying to rid themselves of that. But of course, we can only do that by going within. You can't just go and dump it onto someone else. That only perpetuates it. But yeah, that may be something that you experience. So, exercising, sports, dancing, just anything where you're moving your body, that helps rid yourself of that energy. And also, when you feel like you're stuck in your head, when you're just constantly ruminating, you're constantly overthinking, become aware of it. Develop the awareness of it. Even if you have to keep sticky notes around your home as you come in through the door. Maybe you've got a sticky note on the fridge and you just write down awareness to keep you out of that programming, to keep you in a higher state of consciousness. And also, when you're overthinking, you can just say out loud that that's what you're doing, you're thinking. You're overworking your brain. And another thing that can help move the focus out of your head and into your heart. And you can even put your hands on your heart as well. And you will begin to feel more calm, more centered. I do apologize for all of the toxic comments and insults in the live chat. But what I will say is that there are no death threats. So they didn't take it too far. They're not as great, as significant as they think they are. But then, that's how some people become psychopaths. Because they do everything they can to get a reaction. They will try and just say the most hurtful things. And if that still doesn't affect you, then it's going to become physical. Anything just to get that reaction out of you. And then some of them, they become rapists, serial killers, whatever they have to do to shock you. Just to wake you up to what they want you to see, to what they want you to feel, because they feel so alone in their misery. Their lives are so miserable, they're not happy, and you can't see it, and they need you. They need your reaction, they need you to notice them. They need you to recognize their pain, but recognize it in yourself. You feel it for them. And that's why they push and provoke you. That's why they try and say the most hurtful things they can possibly say, because they want you to feel the way that they feel. And sometimes the only thing that can make them feel better is if they kill you. And I know it sounds extreme, but that's exactly how it is. And that's another thing that can make you feel better. Not killing someone, of course. I advise against violence, causing harm to people. I'm actually a vegan myself. But just recognize and develop the awareness of what they're trying to do and what direction they want your mind to go. And make it more extreme. Just make it more and more extreme in your mind. It helps you to detach from it. Recognize that, yes, this person wants to cause you pain. They want you to feel how they feel. And whatever they say to you, whatever names they call you, whatever they say about you, just make it more extreme in your mind. If someone says that you're ugly, you could say, yes, you're right. 8 billion people in this world and I am the ugliest one. And it just completely shuts them down. Because of course, what they're thinking is irrational. It's unrealistic. It doesn't make any sense. They want to home everything on you and make you feel bad about yourself for whatever reason. Or in however way they may want it to be. Because that's how they feel inside. They feel depressed. They feel like they're the world as a result of their shame and the things that they have done to people. They feel horrible inside. So they want to make you feel bad. And that's the way to feel better. Instead of us just feeling victimized, although yes, we should recognize that we were victims, but then the way to move on from that is to recognize that we survived. To recognize that, yes, the narcissist, they may have called us names, they may have physically abused us, but what they didn't get to do is grab a knife and stab us 100 times. Even though, in their minds, I wouldn't be surprised if that was what they wanted to do at some point. Because honestly, what you see from them, that's only the tip of the iceberg. You don't know how deep that goes. And of course with us, as I said earlier, it's normal to have these fantasies of revenge, to have thoughts about it. You may think like you want to kill the narcissist, but you're not actually going to plan it out and think about how you're actually going to do it. I mean, I'm sure many of you, if someone came to you and it's like they asked you about how you're feeling about what the narcissist did to you, and you explained about your thoughts, your fantasies of revenge, and then someone said, okay, let's do it, let's carry this out. You'd probably laugh about it. You would find it ridiculous. Because that's the thing, we're not like them. We don't go around hurting people. That's what they have to do because there's just nothing inside of them. There's nothing there. They have a void. But yeah, that can help is when you make it more extreme in your own mind. Because what you resist persists. So when they're saying hurtful things to you, when they're calling you names and you're trying to fight it, and you're just thinking, realistically, you're not as bad as they're making you out to be. You're defending yourself against them. That's kind of what they want you to do, because if you're defending, they can then keep on attacking. So instead, what you can do is just not resist it and just make it more extreme. Just be like, yeah, I'm the worst person in the world. And then it shuts them down. Because they've got to have these fantasies of you in their mind. They have to villainize you in order to justify their actions. And then when you make things more extreme, it just makes them seem so ridiculous. It makes them look like absolute fools. And it reveals that this is all just going on in their minds. It has no basis in reality. And it's a result of how they feel about themselves. They feel inadequate. They feel inferior to you. And that's where this is all coming from. But yeah, I just really wanted to finish off with something positive, some good advice for you. For those of you who are feeling stuck, you are feeling like you can't move on. Sometimes this is all just in our minds. We've been trained to think this way. Making these scenarios seem more extreme in our minds can help a lot. It can make us recognize how things aren't that bad as they could be. But that's not to invalidate anything that anyone's been through. But it can work as a coping strategy to get you through it initially. Good to see all of the hateful comments have been deleted in the live chats. Thank you for this room. But as you know, it does follow me wherever I go in the world. But no matter what, I try to give you the best information that I can to get you through. Grumpy Author 7 says they become you and you become them. The devil is a liar. That's it, they want to switch identities with you. They want to make you unstable and erratic so that they can point the finger at you, and then they can feel more calm within themselves by then feeling like they're not a bad person after all. They just project it all onto you. Blake Meter says the narcissist is like a pharmacist prescribing thoughts like this: it's your fault, it missed not their own. Make a moment slip, that's their strength. And it pulled out all of your gifts. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll read them out and respond to them. If you're wondering where Nala is, she's hiding up there. She likes to be in a high place. Justin says it's funny how everybody is talking about them, but nobody is the narcissist. Where are they? That's it, because most narcissists are not self-aware. So most narcissists, they genuinely believe that you are the problem. And yet, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to help them, it's never good enough. And no matter how much they abuse you, they're never satisfied. They always feel entitled to more. So it's very rare that we come across self-aware narcissists. And even though they may be self-aware, that doesn't mean that they're good people. That doesn't mean that they're trying to change. Blake Meter says they cannot see themselves, so they blame you. I said they cannot see themselves. And that's why when you're around them, it's like you can't see yourself, because they gaslight you, they confuse you. By the end of an argument with a narcissist, you're left wondering who you are, because they redefine you. Rain Diane says, narcs are little sprats pretending to be sharks. That's right. They actually behave that way because they're so full of fear and shame. And if they could just accept that, yes, they are afraid, they are full of shame, then they could begin to change and heal. Amanda Siri says they could heal if they went within, but they won't. I could never have put up with any of that. Thank goodness I never lived with him. Lucky escape, thank you God. Yeah, they will not go within. They will only project, deflect, blame shift, deny, and just do whatever they have to do to avoid reflecting on themselves or taking accountability. While as for us, especially those of us who are empaths and introverts, we love to go within ourselves. We love to feel connected to ourselves and our own emotions. And of course, when we get around narcissists, they want us to disconnect. They want us to lose touch with ourselves so that we'll go along with their agenda and how they want us to see things. And it's just whatever benefits them. You'll know when you're dealing with a narcissist because you will feel so confused. You'll feel so lost and invalidated. Like by the end of it, you're left questioning your own name or which way is up or down. They just confuse everything because reality is against them. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Let's work together to get these videos out there to more people. Everyone needs to be seeing this. Everyone needs to be aware of this information. And you can also show your support by donating. I appreciate all donations, no matter how small. Just go to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. It's almost 7 p.m. here, but I will be reading your comments in the morning. Hit the subscribe button, click all notifications, and then you will be notified when I go live again. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And follow me on Instagram. You can see my trip last year when I went to Taiwan. Follow me. It is Narc Survivor YouTube on Instagram. All right, thank you all for joining me on another live video. The sun is setting. Thank you all, and I will talk to you soon.